Can you guys hear me now? Can you guys hear me? I'm hoping this is working. All right. Can anyone hear me talking right now? Because I have no clue. Okay, so it wasn't working earlier and now it's working? That's really bizarre. And apparently no one could hear a single thing I was saying earlier. Okay, so let's start this live stream up again. So thank you. Thank you for acknowledging that you can hear me. So to restart the entire live stream, since I was muted the whole time, what I was saying was I thanked everyone for joining me. This was an unexpected live stream. So the plan was to do the Bitcoin Crypto Happy Hour, live stream I do every week tomorrow. Okay, this has turned into sort of a happy hour right now with the bullshit that we've seen in the market. So I don't know. You're gonna get 2 happy hours, I guess, because I'm still planning on live streaming tomorrow. So there's been a lot going on. Fundamentally in the market as well within the charts. So I thought the most helpful thing to do would be to come out here and just share my thoughts, share my honest thoughts and what I'm seeing in the charts. What do I think is going to play out? What would I like to see play out? Expectations surrounding that. There was something else I was going to say. No, but I just want to take a general assessment of a lot of the charts here. And obviously, if you guys have any questions and you want me to review everything, let me know. Make sure to hit the thumbs up button and drop me a comment, questions that we have about what's going on. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. But, why don't we dive right into things? So just to let everyone, just to take a step back for a moment, and I don't use FTX. I'm not super familiar with Alameda research, or I have a general understanding of everything, but I don't follow FTX. I never got involved in FTT tokens, thankfully. Never used any of their exchanges. So I'm not super familiar with a lot of all of that. But I have been reading up, as I'm sure a lot of you guys have been, on what's going on today. This was a really good response on explanation of the situation in general. Just a quick rundown. The catalyst was Alameda's balance sheet being leaked, which showed a heavy exposure to FTT tokens. That made people realize how fragile the FTX Alameda complex was, and that caused Binance to sell their FTT tokens, with a bank run on FTX as a result, and a bailout or sale the only solution. Now, an update on this today. There has been an update in terms of Binance's acquisition for FTX. Keep in mind, anytime you're looking to acquire a company, just step aside for a moment. What do you have to do? You have to do your due diligence, right? So what they did is, I'm even familiar with this in insurance, in business acquisitions. I've seen letters of intent. A letter of intent is an intention to, in this case, purchase an exchange, but it's the intention to do so much as these qualifications. They want to research and do this and figure this out and that, and they have to agree on the purchase price and blah, 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 blah. So he signed a letter of intent to purchase, but there's no obligation to actually purchase. And just earlier this afternoon, CZ came out and said that, or Binance released a statement saying they weren't going to go through with the acquisition. So now if you're bullish like I am, and hopefully everyone here is on the technology and the prospects moving forward, you wanted to see Binance acquire FTX. You wanted to see that happen, but that hasn't happened. So the fallout of this could be pretty I wouldn't say cataclysmic. That's overdoing it. But the title of the thumbnail is not clickbait. It really is carnage out there. And the fact that FTX could reveal that they're going to become insolvent would be monumental. And the reason I say it would be monumental is it's actually not so much, and this is not to be insensitive of anyone who's been impacted. Thumbs up, by the way, for everybody who's new joining. I couldn't imagine being impacted by this. I really couldn't, and how devastating it would be, okay? So I want to preface what I'm about to say by saying that. But I think the biggest outcome from this won't be the ensuing ramifications in the short-term price action of crypto. That is what I'm not concerned about by these events. What I am personally concerned about is, and I think Credible Crypto was the one who tweeted this out, and I agreed with the language, is we're essentially giving the SEC and government officials like the crypto industry on a silver platter with what has happened here. I mean, first it was Celsius and Voyager and Three Arrows Capital. Like, it was all the bullshit that played out with that. But this is a really, really potentially catastrophic event to occur. And this is, when we assess charts and we look at a chart, and I come out here with you guys and I talk about there being no certainties in life besides living and dying, and what we use charts for are to lead us in probabilistic directions, right? Least likely, most likely, okay? Basic premise of an actuary, and it's why I can appreciate it as a chartist, okay? So that's what we do, and one of the things I speak to are black swan events. You can't predict a black swan event, right? I saw recent tweets from FTX talking about different office locations and buying up FTT tokens and all this stuff, and this was a matter of weeks ago and days ago, and now we're in this situation. So no one saw this coming, and this is what I would call a potential black swan event, the way it's impacting prices right now. So what we have to do is a couple things. On this channel, I preach to investing and I do some swing trading, but I'm not a day trader, right? And the bulk of my assets are invested in projects that I feel are a great position to be in for the forthcoming appreciation in value. And I utilize TA to discern when to good price levels to buy, good price levels to sell, okay? So the reason I bring that up is there's the fundamental and technical side to why I'm invested in this space, okay? So one of the things I have to ask myself as the events of today have unfolded is, how much has it changed my view long-term for the crypto industry? It hasn't done that whatsoever. It hasn't shaken me in that way. The way it has shaken me, or not shaken me, but made me most nervous, is what regulation will follow, right? Because it's so typical for the SEC or the government to come in here not to understand all the intricate workings of what made this happen, and to instill logical governance to help regulate some aspects and allow it to prosper and grow as an industry. Instead, they're just going to come in and they're going to pound their hammer and pound their fists and put forth regulation that will stunt growth. And that's the thing that's more concerning for me from an event like this. And this is really proving, if you have assets that are this much mismanaged than are what are being suggested by either Alameda or FTX, this really further validates some of the stereotypes that go into this industry. And it's very disappointing. It's very concerning. It's very disappointing because there are a lot of countless projects out there who have a lot of smart people working for them and looking to innovate and bring us to a different state technologically than we ever have before. And projects that are founded on a lot of deep fundamentals and have a lot of promising aspects to them in the future. And then you have events like this happen and everyone gets sugar-coated under the same terminology or same blanket. It's very discouraging. It's very discouraging, especially as somebody who has been here, like I said, learning about this space since 2017. I got invested starting in 2018. And I would say in recent times, it's definitely my biggest growing passion that I have is just the crypto space. So for me as an investor, for me as somebody who loves the space and really is very adamant about it, anyone who knows me would know that, it's very disappointing. It's very disappointing that you have bad actors like this in the space. There's bad actors everywhere. There's bad actors in every industry. There are good and bad actors in politics and governance and in various industries you work in churches, just in society in general, because we're all people, we all have flaws, right? So this type of situation isn't immune to any one industry. It's just the industry in certain ways is lacking some regulation that would benefit everyone without stunting growth. And in many ways, it's been a joke in the United States how slowly we've moved towards obtaining some sort of sensible regulation surrounding crypto assets. There are organizations like Ripple. Say whatever you want about them. I know it's you're bipolar when it comes. You're not bipolar. You're complete opposite when you come to Ripple. You either love them or hate them. I care less. But the point is, they raise a very good point, which is, organizations like them are seeking regulation and seeking an understanding and clear path forward, and they're not getting it, right? And so we've lacked all this regulation. It has allowed some of these things to fester and occur, and now what's going to come in is a heavy-handed regulatory environment at some point moving forward. So that is the thing that disappoints me about today. However, what I'd like to do, and I see a lot of comments here, sorry I haven't been replying. I just wanted to share my thoughts. What we're seeing now, I know you guys want me to get to the technicals, and we might actually be getting to a very capitulatory spot live. As I'm live streaming here, you can see the look on my face. I did not think, and I spoke to a capitulatory level that could happen. This has gone far lower than I thought it was going to as of yesterday. But keep in mind, what we want to see as prices. This is actually quite exciting watching this live. This is like live TV. What you want to watch for in terms of a clear signal bottom, there's a couple things that I would be looking for. First is for volume to come in. And the second thing would be any positive divergences to play out on the chart. This is really exciting. Sorry, as a technician, this is very exciting we're going to zoom in on the 5 minute. No, we'll stay away from that. We'll stay away. I'm kind of excited. We could actually do a live stream where we just go into small time frame analysis to see if we can catch the bump. No, we're not going to do that. But on the 12-hour, in all seriousness, on the 12-hour, what's very discouraging about the current price action is that we have moved significantly below these two key moving averages. You guys know I've been speaking to this, to 200 and the 50. We were just starting to get some bullish price picking up here in between these two moving averages, and it was going in the right direction, and then this happened. So, ideally at some point, what we want to see here is a strong bounce. If I actually go back in time, and I was actually looking at this earlier. If we go back to the March 20 beer virus crash, ideally what you'd like to see, now this was a V-shaped recovery, but ideally what you do want to see when this bounces, you want to see a strong bounce up followed by continuation, right? Because what was this doing? After we got a strong bounce, we were printing higher lows and ultimately increasing in value, right? You really need to see something. I want to stress this, okay? You really want to see a strong bounce come in here at some point and some strong momentum. Got to scroll all the way over, sorry. Some strong momentum to start to get us above like 18,000. That's really what we need to, 17,600 to 18,000, right? Because my fear, okay, I want to use the word fear in quotations, so everyone understands what I mean by fear, I have zero fears long term about this market. That's not what I mean by fears. My fear is more from an investment timing perspective, okay? Let me explain what I mean by that. Timing meaning I have certain expectations based on where prices will be next year. I've communicated that to you guys. So for me, okay, what makes sense here looking at this is if you can see, oh, that's a different chart I'm thinking of. The more we get candle body closes, okay, that come down here and stay down here with some sort of, without a violent move up here, okay, in the shorter term, if we don't see that, the greater the risk is we are going to be down here for an extended period of time and longer than I would have hoped to have seen, okay? So this is what we need to keep a close eye on is when the bounce comes in, can we get, because there will be a bounce soon. We are getting, when you have price decreasing this rapidly, especially on Bitcoin, I mean, think about this. Bitcoin is down 15%. When's the last time you can recall Bitcoin being down 15%, right? So you're talking about not an altcoin, you're talking about the king of cryptocurrency. Bitcoin is down 15%. When you have this level of a decrease in price, we're going to get some sort of bounce. But the question is whether it's a dead cat bounce or if it's a true recovery bounce, right? What will happen in a dead cat bounce is you'll get some sort of increase in price here, but it'll have weak volume, and then it'll just sort of peter off, and then we'll just drop lower. What you want to see is some volume come in, and then some sort of floor being created, and then movements up. That's really what you want to look for. So we want volume and any bullish divergence on the lower time frame. So is there any bullish divergence? Thumbs up for everyone new tuning in. Appreciate it. Is there any bullish divergence coming in on the smaller time frames? Let's take a look at it. You know, like this dialogue can be a little bit more free flowing. So is there any bullish divergence? Let's go to the, well, on the 1 hour, no, there really isn't. There was for a little bit here. In fact, I was looking at that earlier. There was some bullish divergence here, okay? So you had prices, you had the RSI going up and come down. And this is what I mean. This is actually a great example of this, that here's some bullish divergence that was on the 1 hour, and bullish divergence can show up on any time frame. We could look at a daily, we could look at a weekly, we could look at a 3-day, okay? But bullish divergence doesn't need to play out. This is what people don't understand sometimes, or what some people that listen to this content don't understand this. So please, one more time, listen very, very carefully. When I pull out bullish divergence, right, and I'm saying this has a really good likelihood, like I feel really good about this potentially making a big breakup. Listen to what I'm saying. It has a strong likelihood. It has potential. It's not a certainty, right? The reason that probabilities exist, there's a 75% chance of this and a 25% chance of that. Why do those two numbers exist? Because 25 out of 100 times this happens and 75 out of 100 times this happens, right? So if you flip a coin 100 times, that's your ratio, essentially, is what it's saying, right? Heads or tails, 75 or 25, right? So 25 of that is made up by 25 occurrences in 100, right? So there's 25 real lucky people and 75 unlucky people, right? I don't know how else to explain that. So the point is that I'm never stating a certainty on this channel in terms of what's going to play out in an indicator or a price or whatever the case is. But sometimes people hear what they want to hear. They're not listening. So this is a case of bullish divergence not playing out. I think it's really good to actually look at a chart where, you know what, this didn't play out. That happens. That's why probabilities exist, else everything would be 100%. All right, so let's look on a 4-hour time frame. Any bullish divergence there? There is definitely not. So I'm not seeing any, well, the 30-minute. All right, we got some on the 30-minute, but there isn't enough. It's still technically done. There isn't enough here that we've looked at. There's nothing here that makes me say, oh boy, we've bottomed out and we're expecting a bounce. No, I don't see anything yet. So we'll just have to keep an eye on that. Keep in mind as we look at this chart, one thing that I wanted to point out, and if you guys follow me on Twitter, at Crypto Bull God, I had tweeted this out. So I went back to a live stream from the end of October, okay? And in that live stream, what I had said was I saw two scenarios playing out in the market. Either the exact dollar bottom is in, I think it was 17,600, I think. So either the exact dollar bottom is in, which is the way I was leaning, or there would be an event, a capitulatory event, look what's going on, and it would cause the price to drop down to maybe 16.8, 16.2, 15.9, were the levels I gave, right, as an example. So it would wick down to those levels, okay, but we'd have a strong V reversal up and price stabilization, such that the psychology there is this. I'm starting in my mind to equate everyone calling for 14 and below in Bitcoin being very similar to a point in time we were at in 2021 where everyone was calling for 100,000 plus Bitcoin, right? Everyone was so sure, including myself, that Bitcoin was going well north of $100,000 by the end of 21, and really I said like the first quarter of 22 or first 2 months. Regardless, I don't want to squabble over a month or two, but I was in that camp and I was wrong, right? Well, a lot of the same cries are coming out right now for Bitcoin to go down to 14,000 or below, right? So what I was saying is there would be an event similar to what is going on today, as scenario 2. We would come down here and never hit. We would never hit the $14,000 level. We would wick somewhere above it because everyone was expecting it, right? So we'll have to kind of see how this plays out. One of the other things to consider, and this is a really important point, and we'll hit on some of these charts, is when assessing the overall health and direction that you are hypothesizing that the market could move, I've always said on this channel, and I've always shared with you, that a very narrow-minded view would be to only look at this chart. That this chart will tell us the likely direction or likely sort of market we're going to be in months out from now, just looking at this Bitcoin USD chart. That would be, with all due respect, that would be ignorant. You need to assess the cryptocurrency market as a whole and evaluate several charts, as we're going to do, to lead you in a direction in terms of your school of thought, in where things might be going, right? You have to view the macro, the market as a whole holistically, okay? So let's look at the Bitcoin chart first. Now, the first thing I wanted to point out here is that, now this is a 3-day chart. Sorry, I was looking at, actually, if I look off to the left here, I can see myself in the camera. And yeah, I may need to invest in some better equipment at some point. The lighting, like when there isn't natural light coming in here, it's not the best. So, hey, thumbs up to everyone new tuning in. All right, let's get back to the charts. So this is Bitcoin on the 3-day. So one of the things I was pointing out here on the 3-day, now this candlestick here, you'll see, you might say to me, hey, CBG, the way you have this drawn is inappropriate because, inappropriate. You might have this drawn inappropriate because you have a line going through the candle body here. Well, this candle just printed. Okay, so this thing will not close out until Friday. So we still have price action on Thursday or Friday. So if we wicked up to this level, which would be 17,500, not out of the question with the level of volatility we've seen, then this pattern would still be valid. But there's two things I'm showing here. The first is price is going down and RSI is going up. This is bullish divergence on the 3-day chart. And the other thing this is happening here, wide, narrow, right? What is this? This is a potential falling wedge. We need this to close up here, though, for that to be validated. So again, it's not suggesting that we will definitively move up if the falling wedge and if this candlestick still prints in this formation and we have bullish divergence. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying this is something I would look for to suggest to me we could have an initial bounce up. Maybe it is a dead cat bounce, but an initial bounce up or a trend reversal, just based on what I'm seeing here. So I just wanted to share that with you guys. So the other thing we need to do, we need to ask ourselves is, in our current market, the state of volatility that we're seeing right now within prices, Bitcoin is printing new all-time lows, right? We had a bottom at 17.6, and now Bitcoin's at 15.8. What are the other alts doing? Like, are all the other alts creating new all-time lows? Well, let's go to Ethereum. So the other interesting thing with Ethereum is it's expressing a lot more current strength relative to Bitcoin, all right? The bottom here, when we bottom now, currently is at 880, and we're sitting at 1100 right now, okay? So that's an observation, is that even though Bitcoin is below and setting new all-time lows, the king altcoin is expressing greater strength relative to Bitcoin. So keep that in the back of your head, or in the back of your mind. The other thing to keep in mind with the Ethereum chart, and I'm thinking about, it's going to be interesting tomorrow when I live stream. I'm not sure what charts we're going to cover because I'm going to be covering most of the charts here. Maybe I'll save most of your Q&A, T&A questions for tomorrow. I'm not really sure. We'll see where we get. But anyway, this weekly candlestick, ideally what we want to see, okay, I'll tell you, this is actually a really good chart to look at and have a good conversation about, related to really paying attention to the market closely, because what has now happened, and I kind of didn't hit on this, I did not hit on this before, but one of the things, sorry I'm jumping around, but I want to hit on this because I forgot to. One of the things I was mentioning to you guys, as bullish as I was on price recovering here, and I saw this as a very good sign and we were getting close. One of the things I mentioned to you, if you've been here, we kept hitting, we hit. I said, guys, as bullish as I am, and I think we're not going any lower, I don't like that we keep hitting this line, because you know what that means. It keeps weakening, right? Well, look what happened. As soon as we got down there, and the next time, boom, it broke, right? It was weak, okay? So, I don't even know where I was going with that. I completely lost my thought. Wow. Not even sure where I was going with that. But the point of where I was going earlier, I don't know. Sometimes when you get older in life, you forget. Apparently, I'm at that age where you just start forgetting things. Thank you to everyone who stayed with me to this point. Hit the fucking thumbs up button if you've ever forgotten something on the spot and you completely lost your train of thought. Wow. All right, so Ethereum, the encouraging thing here is, even though we're seeing a lot of price action to the downside in Bitcoin beyond its all-time low, we're seeing the king altcoin Ethereum saying, no, we're still like 30% above, or 40, around 30%, 33%, quick math in my head, above where we had bottomed out here, 30%, because that was 880. So, what you would expect to see if Bitcoin is going well below its all-time low here, and you would expect this to be a contagion event within the altcoins in terms of them going into a massive bear market. We want to see something for Ethereum where it would get below its all-time low. I know where I was going now with this. Sorry, I want to jump back to my original thought. I sound like an old man saying this. I feel like I'm talking to my grandfather. This is horrendous. Rest in peace, Pop. All right. What I wanted to say was that we have to, and I kind of think I hit on this earlier, but we really need to pay attention to the candlestick patterns on these 12-hour charts, because we started getting to a point, and I told you guys I laid out 3 steps on the 12-hour chart. We got between here, right? Step 1, that's great. We got above the 200. This is awesome. We have candle body closes above here. This is great, looking great. And then all we needed was the golden cross. Well, the more we stay down here, and we have candle bodies down here, it's going to result in these moving averages curling down versus having a V-shaped recovering, having these moving averages stabilize somewhat. So we really need to see some sort of bullish sort of V-shaped recovery here in the shorter term, because one of the things, like I said, I was touching on earlier, is it's not a concern. I have zero concern over the long term. It's just a concern that if we don't get a quick recovery, we are going to be down here for an extended period of time. So it's just something to keep an eye on and be mindful of. Binance is not immune to what's going on here. You can see that it is down 19.4%. Look at this. If we don't get some sort of bullish reaction here on the weekly and close above this line here, we've completely invalidated the ascending triangle. We re-entered and went below the pattern, which is very bearish. So not good to see. XRP, I almost fucking ate my words here. I tweeted out, well, just trying to have fun with some people during a rough time. I said, well, at least we haven't gone back to 20-some cent XRP or 20 cent XRP. We've stayed at 30 cents. Well, we hit 32 cents, so we were pretty damn close to it. But you can see this pennant. I mean, I just really look at this. The volatility, what it's done. This is really the true definition of a black swan event that can just break charts. I mean, okay, so the stock market was down today. I remember the stock market was up yesterday. If you guys were paying attention, Dow and the Dow Jones and the S&P, all up. The dollar was down at that point. Dollar was up today, but it was down. Crypto did not participate in that. Okay, so but anyway, XRP just put out a video about price action coiling up and ready for a big move. But look what can happen. Okay, just because I present data to you guys again, stating that I feel confident that we're going to have a move up because the probabilities suggest that based on a pennant formation here, it doesn't mean that it can't break down. That's why probabilities exist. So it fucking sucks, but XRP's back down at 32.5 cents. So too bad that Flare airdrop didn't come out a month ago, right? Matic. You know what's crazy about Matic, guys? Depending when you got in, Matic is actually, okay, so we're sitting at 79 cents. I mean, all things considered, honestly, it's one of the strongest performers. If you have, a decent amount of your bag in Matic, you're not heavily phased by you shouldn't be heavily phased by what's going on if you're buying prices back in here, okay? Where's Quan at? 107. Whoa, where are we? But you can see real quick before we get off here, we back tested. Look at this. So far, this is actually not bad at all. I want to point something out on Matic that if we get a reversal going into this week, keep in mind, by the way, speaking of a reversal in the market, I'm hoping things are a little bit more positive for tomorrow's live stream for the happy hour, okay? But if we get a bounce tomorrow, which I would suspect, okay, I would suspect we're going to get a bounce because I will say this, it would shock me if we don't get a bounce tomorrow because of how down red we are today. It will shock me. It won't surprise me, or it will shock me. Whether it's a dead cat or not, it will shock me if we don't get a bounce tomorrow given how red we've been these past 2 days. Keep that in mind. But anyway, we broke out above this resistance, right? And what have I told you guys is one of the most bullish things you can do. Once you break up, you come back down, you back tested a support. Now, if this holds a support and we close anywhere up in here, that's still bullish, okay? We don't have to close. I mean, I think the most bullish thing on this chart is Matic gets above 105. We closed the week at 105 or above. That's mega fucking bullish for Matic. But even a close above this line would still be bullish in my opinion, okay? So Matic's just one of the stronger performers. Look at this. Bitcoin is down 15.6%. Oh, my God. My paycheck cannot come in fast enough tomorrow. I am definitely, never financial advice, I'm definitely putting some of my fiat to work tomorrow. So Solana. So let's talk about Solana for a moment. Now, they've been impacted due to nothing to do with the chain or nothing to do with the project, but they've been impacted to having ties to FTX. This has hit this level here at 12. I have this drawn about 12.5 to 13. I tweeted about this. It got hit. We start breaking those levels. And, I saw the information out there that apparently there's a locking period for individuals who staked Solana. There's a locking period, a lockup period that ends. I think it ends at midnight tonight, I think. So it ends very, very shortly. And so what I'm saying is, sorry, I'm on Eastern Standard Time. So I think the lockup period ends in around 6 hours, somewhere around 6 hours. But apparently a lot of people are unstaking their coins. So there is some concern there could be a massive dump. Now, never financial advice, but if there was a massive dump on Soluna or a massive capitulation wick, let's have a little bit of fun here, okay? Let's point out, because I might partake in this, I'm considering it. If there's a big capitulation in Solana, where could it actually go? We've seen craziness in crypto, so we will take a look. I'll try and actually be specific on this one. So I see an area right here. What's the high here? 445? Perfect. Okay. So I see a range there too. Guys, if these are known as, so what these are called are fishing orders. What is a fishing order? A fishing order is when you set a bid really low. Okay, you put in a buy limit order if you guys don't know what a buy limit order is, then you're not going to participate in this, but you can at least educate yourself and learn something. So a buy limit order is, instead of going in and doing a market buy, you just buy up whatever the order book says, something called an order book. You place in a specified price for the crypto asset, in this case that you want to buy it at. So you set a limit buy. I will buy at $9.50. And so when the price drops down to $9.50, you'll buy it, right? That's a real simplistic view of it. Anyway, what a fishing order is when you set your buy limit order like super low. You know it's possible for it to hit that price, but you think it's very unlikely. And if it's very unlikely, then it's probably a really good buying opportunity. So like if you set a buy limit order for Solana at like $4 and you got in, chances are it would not fall to 4 and stay at 4. It might fall to 4 and jump right back up to like 11 or 12, right? So that is what a fishing order is. So let me give you guys some fishing orders. If anyone's interested in getting in Solana, this is not my financial advice. I could not be any more clear. You guys are all grown-ups, right? You can make your own decisions. CBG is not holding your hand and telling you to buy something. If you think that's the case, you need to self-examine yourself. We're so PC in this world. I can't tell you what I'm actually thinking. You need to check yourself before you wreck yourself. That's what I would say. All right. I don't know who I just imitated right there. I don't know what just came out. All right, let's talk about some fishing orders on Solana. So Solana, thanks for everyone new tuning in. I'd appreciate the thumbs up. I see I have 575 people that just joined. Welcome in. All right. The channel is growing. Solana, if I was placing some fishing orders on these potential rumors, okay, of the unlock period occurring and then people dumping their Solana tokens, this is where I would do it. And again, not financial advice for all those watching, but this is what I would do. I may actually entertain this, not entertain it, but I may consider putting some money, putting some fiat into my account to do some limit orders here. So the first region I'd be looking at would be about 790. Okay, and the thing is, if you are going to put a fishing order in, let me educate you guys for a second here on how you want to do this, all right? Let's say that you've identified $10 as like this key area, right? You want to set it above, you want to set your buy limit order a few pennies above that, right? So like for instance, if I identified $10.35 as a key area of support and I wanted to buy in on that level, 10.35, I'd probably set it at like 10.41, 10.42, right? So just a few pennies above there, because what happens with a buy limit order is if you set it right at the level of 10.35, and it wicks to 10.36, so it's close to that area and shoots back up, you've bought nothing. But if you buy at 10.42, what are you really giving up as a percentage of your buy there? It's fractions and fractions and fractions of a percent. So that's how you do it. But anyway, let me give you my general ranges here, and you guys can do with that what you will. Solana is experiencing a lot of volatility. There's nothing fundamentally wrong with the chain. Just keep that in mind. So no matter what your fundamental view of the project is, you know, it's in the top 10 for a reason, right? Or actually, it's been knocked out of the top 10, but it's done well for itself for a reason, right? So let's not have a fundamental debate, but you can't get that high without having accomplished a lot as a project. So the first level would be 789. okay, somewhere around 789. Then we got a lot of 4s and 3s in here. So we have $5. Okay, we'll call this $5, $4.46, $4.19, and $3.74. So if you guys want to put fishing orders out there on buy limits, that's your call. Those are just the levels I would personally do if I was going to do it, which I may consider. Look at FTT, which is the FTX token. I'm going to be real honest in what I see in this chart. And, this is not to scare anyone that has money in this token or... I'm sorry, I'm just going to be very honest with you and just tell you what I see in this chart. And this is the first time I've thought this since it happened, and I don't think I have PTSD. I've had no reason to have PTSD because thankfully I was not invested in this project. But Luna, getting PTSD in terms of just looking at the chart, and this to me just has Luna vibes all over it of something that's essentially going to go to zero. That just being honest with you guys. So I would not, again, you guys can buy and sell and trade however you want to, whatever you think works best for yourself and your family. But, yes, there's a probability this thing could massively recover and go back up to 20 and beyond. But I will tell you no. The probability of that happening, looking at this chart, is really low, like really low. When I say this thing has Luna vibes, it's for a reason. Just because it was up here doesn't mean it has to recover, guys. Okay, so I hope no one listening, I really mean this, I hope no one listening or watching this is affected by this, because this is catastrophic. And this is why it's so, when I began the stream today, it really saddens me. It really disappoints me that you have bad actors in this space that misabuse capital, use all sorts of things for leveraging purposes and collateral that I was reading about. I think people that do that, they have a real illness, so some sort of. Actually, I want to be so PC now because somebody's going to take me the wrong way. I really do think people that abuse power like that and misuse things in such a flagrant way really do have some sort of mental illness. Okay, mental illness, something's not right, because this has really impacted so many people. And I was seeing people tweet on, I was seeing people on Twitter the other day, and I'm hoping no one was trolling in the people's comments who I was reading. But I was reading this about some people impacted by this, and my heart really goes out to people like that are impacted, because this is tough. And like I said, it's disappointing to see in an industry that I'm so passionate about. And again, I want to reiterate what I said at the top of the stream. The look of dejection on my face is not because of any concern over the long-term prospects for this space. I mean, nothing about today has dwindled that. It's the look on my face is just the disappointment in people that would have this happen, and knowing it's impacting so many people, it's really disappointing, and it's tough. So, and again, before we continue looking at some of these charts, and I share my thoughts with you, I think, like I said, the one thing you really need to spend some time thinking about is how much does this change your long-term versus short-term view, right? The fact that we've gone below, okay, and I was going to save this to the end, but I'll just go to it now. The fact that we've reached a level below 17,600, okay, there is a obvious increased risk to 14 and below. There's no question about it. In fact, if you look at my monthly chart here, the next key monthly level of support is at 14,000. This candlestick looks like it's on a road towards 14,000, and the risk has increased to that level. Now, do I personally think that's going to happen? Like, what is my honest view of where things, let me get back to FTT. Actually, let's get off the FTT chart. I think that's pretty depressing for anyone impacted. So what's my honest view of what's going on, and do I think we're going to go to 14,000 and below? No, I still don't believe that. I don't. I still think that this is a massive shakeout event that will be capitulatory in nature. Do I know that with certainty? Absolutely not. I obviously could be wrong. I was wrong that Bitcoin did not have a cycle top when I said it would, right? So I could be wrong again, and Bitcoin could go to 14 or 12 levels that I called other people out for and said they were being fear mongers. Maybe I'm proven wrong. There's a probability, like I said, for everything. But at this moment, I don't see that happening. I do see a recovery in the space because my main belief for that, I will tell you, because honestly, looking at the charts, the fact that we broke 17.6, and especially when you zoom out and look at a monthly, it really would lead you to conclude we're going to be hitting 14,000, right? But I think that there have been so many people expecting that it just seems like it has been this foregone conclusion. I don't see it happening. So we'll have to see if we can get a strong bounce here over the next 24 to 48 hours, but we'll see how it plays out. Things could be very different. I will say this, one of the interesting things about times like today, as hard as it is to see the current price action, it does provide for a lot of good conversation and a lot that's going on in the market to have conversation about, because tomorrow when we come back here tomorrow, I'm going to be live streaming again for a true happy hour tomorrow. The prices could be substantially lower. They could be. It's an increased probability for that one. Or they could be substantially higher. We could do the opposite of what a lot of people are thinking, especially with this Solana scare that's going on. We could do the opposite of what people are thinking and see a strong bounce tomorrow. Who knows? But I will say that the fact that everything going on with Solana and the unlock period, that is not sounding very favorable. I will say that. I think that the best thing you can do, in a situation like this is remain unemotional and continue to view the charts and see what is changing within the macro picture. Remember, nothing has changed. Like, let's go to the Bitcoin chart. Nothing has changed fundamentally over the long term to make me think we're in serious trouble here. Okay? The thing that I'll tell you what would concern me. Let's actually jump to the monthly and let's have a conversation about this real quick. Get off that and go to this. Okay? Now, let's just look at the entire month of November. Okay? What would concern me is a candle body close anywhere under like 19,700. If November closes out, guys, I know we're very low right now relative to 19.7. We can go up just as quick, and there's no reason why we can't close above 19.7 in November. But anyway, if we get a close below 19.7, this area of support, there is increased risk to me of us staying under here and just chipping and chopping around for months, and then until we go up, and it just takes a long time, right? But hear what I'm saying and hear what I'm not saying. What I'm saying is I have full expectations moving forward that we're going to be appreciating massively in value, right? So what I'm not saying is that nothing about that has changed. It's just that, again, it's all about the time horizon. Like the expectations, really, what can we realistically expect? Well, on the monthly, if we get a candle body close below 19,700, realistically, it doesn't matter. I'm not going to allow my emotional bias to cloud my intellect. That has led to many mistakes in the past, and I'm not going to do that in that situation. If we close under 19.7, there is a heightened increased risk that we'll be under here for a period of time before we can break 19.7 and then start coming back up to these areas, right? Versus if we get a close at 19.7 or higher, okay, now we have this long wick. What have I said about long wicks down like this? There is seller exhaustion, and the price comes all the way up nearly, or even massively bullish would be above, which I don't see happening, but anywhere above 19.7, now we have this thin body. Yeah, that is signs of a potential trend reversal candlestick, especially if it turns into a green body. That would be a hammer candle, okay? So that's what we really want to see for the month, and that would be my expectation moving forward. So again, it's going to be part of it is I was going to say, either way, it's going to be very interesting from an educational standpoint how this plays out. So what I was going to say is, the emotional bias part of me wants this to play out the way my educational view has it painted out. My education hasn't been clouded by my emotional sense. Okay, I hope to God I'm making sense right now. I'm listening to myself. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? Based on education, I came up with a view, right? My emotional side likes the educated view. It's a very rosy picture next year, right? Okay. What I'm saying is that, I'm not going to allow that emotional side to cloud my judgment in terms of what I see within the picture, right? So there were two things that I was going to point out. Wow, this is the second time I've lost my train of thought. I don't know what's going on. I'm sorry. Sometimes I talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. Where I was going with that, God only knows if you're sticking. Hey, if you appreciate the fact that twice in this live stream, CBG has completely lost his train of thought, hit me a fucking thumbs up button. All right. Wow. This is stellar. Not stellar lumens. Cheers to I don't know if Greg is watching, although I did shoot him an invite. We'll get into more about Greg tomorrow. Actually, during the happy hour, I wanted to bring up a newer channel that I found in the past week and a half randomly. The guy does really good TA, and I appreciate his sense of humor. In certain ways, in a lot of ways, actually, the way he kind of relates to speaks to his audience, it's very reminiscent of my own channel. So I reached out to him. I thought he does a great job, but I'll bring him up tomorrow. But anyway, so the main picture I'm painting to you guys, the way I'm keeping myself level-headed here is, look, this is where I was going with this. I remember what I was going to say. I have a fundamental view, unbiased, educated view that we still have a fifth wave, right? We still have a fifth wave, right? So everything is telling me that this has been one long extended wave. Again, this has been one long extended A, B, C correction, right? Well, at some point, if we continue drifting lower, we're going towards 13 or 12,000, whatever the invalidation point, which I think is 14,000, whatever the typical invalidation point for an Elliott wave is, what happens if I'm wrong? And that would upset me because I feel like I've done my due diligence to get comfortable and assured that what's playing out here is a 5-structure Elliott wave, and we're still waiting for wave 5. So I would be disappointed that analysis was wrong, but it's another reason why I feel that we're not going to be going to 14,000 or lower, is because it would invalidate sort of my train of thought. But the last thing I will say before we jump to a few other charts is the one other thing I wanted to make sure to hit on, which I'm not sure if I did yet, is, again, the worst case scenario for me. I think about what is my personal worst case scenario. My worst case scenario is that I am wrong and Bitcoin does not go to new all-time highs next year, and we're going to be waiting longer for that, right? But hear what I'm not saying. I'm not saying that I have concerns about the cryptocurrency industry in terms of projects I'm invested in or Bitcoin hitting new all-time highs. I'm not saying that. It's just from a timing perspective, I realize there is an increased risk now that we've broken these lows that I could be wrong. Do I think I'm currently wrong? No, for reasons that I've already said. I still do think that we're going to bounce. We're going to get a strong bounce, and we are not going to see 14,000 for reasons that I've already stated. Okay, the emotional bias of the market right now, the Elliott wave structure. Okay, so we'll have to see how it plays out. A couple other charts, and then I'll see if I can get to a question or two. Dominance is the other thing leading me to feel assured that the scenario I've spoken to in new all-time highs next year, massive alt season next year, as bleak as that looks right now, this chart is still telling me that's the case. Now, if something would happen this week and all of a sudden we bounced up and we started invalidating, fine, I'm wrong. But this is still a massive bear pennant. And if we're hitting new all-time lows in Bitcoin dominance, guys, I've spelled this out to you too many times. That means we're going to have a massive alt season, okay? So despite as bleak as things look right now, this is what the chart is telling me. And speaking of Blake, someone tweeted something out, which I actually, thank you for the continued like, guys. I appreciate it. Somebody tweeted something out today that, which I disagreed with. Actually, drop me a comment on this. I see a lot of comments, and oh, Lauren, welcome in. Glad to see you. I knew you were going to join at some point. Welcome in. So, where the hell was I going with that? I'm not losing my train of thought for the third time. I don't know. I lost my train of thought for the third time in this live stream. I have no idea what's going on. I can't really remember losing my... That's funny I said that. I can't really remember losing my train of thought at all in a live stream, and now I've lost my train of thought 3 times. I really don't know what I was about to say. People trust me with numbers. That's a scary thing, right? This is a weekly view on Bitcoin. So, one of the things I had kind of hit on in prior weeks, the more we had stayed under here, the more concerned I was of a breakdown, right? Saw some momentum, felt confident we were going to break this line and start creating a high and a higher high, right? 2 higher highs and then a low and come down and create a higher low, right? That's what I was confident was going to happen. But I'll tell you what, we stayed under here and now we sort of fulfilled what was becoming increasingly likely, right? Which was a break to the downside. So we'll have to see kind of how things play out here. It's going to be, one of the other things from a learning aspect is that, it's going to be interesting assessing some of these data science models, because these data science models are really being what we would call stress tested. A lot of these data science models for Bitcoin in the industry, they are at historic lows. Like, they're setting new all-time lows, and we're so oversold relative to where we have been in the past. I can tell you, I know what I was going to say earlier. I can tell you that now again, I've been invested since 18. So I went through the 18-19 correction. I went through the beer virus crash. I've gone through this. This to me feels like the worst of any of the corrections that I've been through. And maybe it was because in 2018 and 19, I've told you guys, I was prepared for the descending triangle, right? Most people thought this strong base was being accumulated between 58 and 6,200 for Bitcoin. I was like, no, it's a descending triangle. And it ended up panning out. So when we corrected that much, it didn't surprise me. The thing with 2020, even though like zombies were going to eat our brains, and it was literally the zombie apocalypse. Like, you could not go outside and breathe the air. I still go to a gym where people like mask up. And the funny thing is, they don't even like fully mask. We're not going to have a mask conversation. They don't even fully mask up. These people, after a couple of years, still don't understand. If you put a mask over your mouth, you have your nose uncovered, what the hell does that do? But let's not talk about that. Let's get back to the charts. But the point is even when zombies were going to eat our brains out, what happened was we had a V-shaped recovery, right? It was very quick. The thing about this correction, this extended, which is still a valid, by the way, this is still a valid extended flat ABC correction. Okay, I want to point that out. No matter how bad this feels, this is literally still this, and this. It's still that, ladies and gentlemen, okay? This has not been invalidated, all right? This has taken such a long period of time. We remember when we were up at 64 and we dropped all the way down here, right? And then we rose all the way up and we faked everyone out. We faked everyone out with this move up to 69, including me, okay? Not as if that's some big accomplishment. I'm like, even me! No, but we faked everyone out, including myself, okay? So we've really been, think about this, since we topped out, this is why I say it's been more painful. And I disagreed with somebody on Twitter today where they said, COVID was worse. And I was like, I beg to differ, brother. Like, I don't think so. This has been 574 days. I'm going to pull out my actuarial calculator. This is my TI-30X. This is my trusty FSA exam calculator. Took a lot of those FSA exams. Those FSA exams were fucking brutal. Fucking brutal. Nearly lost my life over that shit. What was I going to say? Jesus. Literally. Not kidding. So, wait, hold on a second. Whoops, punched the numbers in wrong. Definitely that was not the correct answer. So for 1.6, not 1.5, 1.6 years, okay? So maybe this is easier for you. For 1 2/3 of a year. No, nobody here is good with fractions. What am I saying? You can't do fractions, can you? You guys suck with fractions, right? Most people suck with fractions, all right? 160% of a year, or 1 year and 60% of another year, okay? 1.6 years. This thing has been in a correction. So because of all this bullshit, that's why I'm saying this has been the most long, drawn out, really hard correction, right? So it'll be, again, from an educational standpoint, it'll be interesting to evaluate the data science models and to see if the Elliott wave structure holds up. Because, guys, keep in mind, if this Elliott wave structure holds up and we really do see a correction to, like, we've been down to 15.6. Let's say 15.6 holds, right? If we see a correction to 15.6, let me pose this to you as factual information. This is not my emotional view. This is my, it's a factual view, okay? If we have bottomed at 15.6, if that is the case, that means all of the salivating bears calling for 14,000 and below will be wrong, okay? There will be a V-shaped squeeze sort of recovery up to prior levels, okay? What that would also mean is that the Elliott wave structure is intact and we're still waiting for a fifth final blow-off wave next year. So all this mass hysteria will have been for nothing but the completion of a fourth wave leading up to a blow-off fifth wave. So just keep that in mind. And again, the alternative scenario is that's wrong. This Elliott wave structure fails. We start getting closes below 14,000 down to 13, 12, 11, 10. Hey, and I will be the first to put out a live stream and say, fuck, I was wrong. Wow. Hell, was this a learning experience? There's a probability for everything. So we'll have to kind of see how this plays out, but I'm always going to keep it 100% with you guys. Nothing to view there. The 2 weekly, I don't really have too much to share. You guys have any questions? I've pretty much covered everything that I was planning to cover. Let's see if I can quick get to some questions. Is there anyone new? How about this? Is there anyone new tuning in that has not been to the channel before? What's up, Ugos? Oh, the other thing I wanted to point out. Yeah, I shouldn't chuckle, but I mean, Kevin O'Leary, it's a drop in the bucket. But anyone impacted by FTX, will this be, steady. I think your question was, could this be worse than Luna? Well, yeah, I think the implications of them going under would be worse than Luna, yeah. But again, I think there's been so much blood in the streets and we've capitulated to such low levels. My concern for this is not on the immediate price action. That's not my concern. Whether Bitcoin hits new all-time highs next year, as I have theorized, or I'm incorrect and Bitcoin doesn't hit new all-time highs to 2025, like other people are saying, I don't have any concerns over the price appreciation and continued growth within the industry. My concern is that there's going to be increased blanket regulations that will harm innovation and stunt growth. That is my concern. And so really, when you leave it up to these regulators who have historically mismanaged processes in the past in terms of allowing future innovation within this industry in the past few years, and instead, having regulation by enforcement and going after companies on nearly what has seemed like decade-long investigations and bringing about a lawsuit in the 12th hour before somebody is leaving the SEC, when that's really the governing organization that you're kind of counting on for regulation in this industry, this sort of action by fraudulent players within the market, hands on a silver platter to credible crypto's credit, what they need in the ammunition to kind of blanket this industry in very negative language. So that is what concerns me. Got super serious there for a second. Hey. Yep. Yeah, and it's interesting because and I'm not going to name names. And by the way, I want to be clear about this. This is not me finger pointing. Okay? This is not about me finger pointing to anyone. This is about me saying that there was a lot of belief and energy and enthusiasm and support around FTX. I know prominent people on Twitter. I saw tweets about FTX being this next big thing. Okay? And again, that's not me pointing fingers at anyone or taking a slight at anyone or pointing them out. That's to illustrate the fact that FTX had a ton of support and the fact that they are going to most likely go insolvent because of some domino effect. Domino effect stirred by uneasiness in terms of, quite frankly, what was the term? What is the term? Negligence, just negligence on their part to manage their assets appropriately. There was another word I wanted to use, but I couldn't think of it. It's to their own fault. We kind of went to this tweet. Basically when it was found out that there was some shady situations going on in terms of how things were being collateralized with FTT tokens, and Alameda was just in a bad financial situation. Well, it caused Binance to say, I'm getting the fuck out. Like, I don't want anything to do with you guys. And there were also some issues there with SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried. I saw something tweeted, Sam Bankman fraud. There was also some stuff there associated with him, SBF, Sam Bankman-Fried from FTX, saying some shady things about other actors in crypto and also putting a lot of money into politics to try to get regulation instilled that would stunt innovation and growth. So, but anyway, this was sort of like a domino effect. Binance lost trust in FTX. So then when everyone saw that and read about some suspicious activity within Alameda and how they're capitalized, well, then people just started wanting to withdraw all their funds. And if people are withdrawing all their funds from an exchange, it's sort of like a self-fulfilling prophecy. And what is that like? That's like a bank run. And today, guys, I've spoken to you a lot about bank runs. Like, what would happen if everyone went into their bank, their JP Morgan or whatever, and said, I want all my money out? If everyone went to their bank and said that, the bank would be like, I don't have the funds. Like, I'm actually not holding that. It's all just credit and numbers. Like, I don't hold it. Well, FTX is having a bank run. That's essentially what's going on. So it's a terrible situation for everyone who's been impacted by this, and I think it has a really high risk of setting back the industry and stifling it from a regulation standpoint. So it's disappointing, very disappointing. Hey, Evan. So here's the thing. Evan says something about a 0.886 retracement at 11,000. Look, I'll tell you what. The risk for Bitcoin going to 11,000 has increased by the very nature. It's creating new all-time lows in this move, and it's not finding any areas of support major on the monthly until 14, right? So let's talk about 11 once we get not saying that because I don't believe we're going to get to 14, but let's talk about 11 if we get to 14, okay? If we get to 14, that increases the likelihood even more that we're going to get to 11,000. Now, what you have to understand is, because sometimes people parse words, they don't understand what it is that I'm saying. I do not think Bitcoin is going to 14 or 11 or 10 or 3 or 5,000, okay? I don't think that's happening. But by the very nature of creating new lows on this movement, okay, and we haven't bounced and taken out any of our lower highs here, it's just by the very nature of that an increased risk, an increased probability, right? So to that point, I would agree. Yes, it is statistically impossible to catch the top or bottom, but you can take chunks in between. Completely agree, Evan. Very, very good point. Completely agree. If you try to outsmart this market will fucking hand it to you. It will smack you upside the head, ass, everywhere, all right? Private parts included, all right? It'll fucking beat you to death. Now, we'll have to see if we get our bounce here because we just closed out. This kind of throws me for a loop because ever since that time change, Daylight savings time, first off, it gets darker out, which I don't like, but there's only some temporary satisfaction in that because you gain an hour of sleep. I don't like that it's darker out. But what I was also going to say is now the candlesticks, everything closes at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm used to 8, so I have to readjust my line of thinking. So we closed out. We closed out the day, and as you can see, Jesus Almighty, we have some red candles here. So we'll have to see, like I said, we'll have to see if we get a strong bounce here. My suspicion based on the Solana, okay, we'll say this. The Solana unstaking period does have me very concerned for Solana holders. I've already given you my fishing order targets, okay, fishing targets, the buy order limits. I already gave you what I would be looking for if we got a massive drop. But typically when you've seen this much downside in such a short period of time, you should expect some sort of relief rally very soon. Whether it's a dead cat bounce and we roll over, or whether it's something more, I would expect something tomorrow. I'd be shocked tomorrow if we don't see a good bounce. So we'll kind of have to see how that plays out. All right. So Lauren has a buy limit for Ethereum at 1,050. God, did we already hit that? 1,071, huh? 1,050. Why 1,050? Are you a TA person, Lauren? 1,050. Okay. So food for thought, Lauren. If you've discovered 1,050 is your level, I'd be curious why. If you figured out 1,050, it's always good when you're setting up buy limit orders. Okay. You don't want to make it for a round target like that, $1,050. And maybe you're just rounding and just for the sake of conversation, you said $1,050. And maybe you don't really care based on your LOL because you're investing $50. But we'll go with it anyway. If you're putting in a buy limit order at $1,050, what you really want to do is not make it a nice round number. Maybe you think $1,050 is the right dollar level. So you do like, 1,053. Or 1,050.87, just something that isn't exactly that dollar limit level, because psychologically people are, the round dollar levels sometimes often don't get hit is what I'm trying to say. So you want to get a few pennies above it. So, or even like a buck or two based on, your own risk strategy there on buying. But I think 1,050 would be an awesome buy on Ethereum. I mean, I think 1,092 or 93 is a fucking awesome buy on Ethereum. I didn't think we'd be seeing these levels again, so I think it's a good buy all around. Evan, yeah, man. So your comment, his knowledge in the industry as a top 5 guy, he would have known what the aftermath would be with all this. I don't know. I've struggled with that too. You can see the way my posture is right now. People that read posture could read me. I struggle with that too, brother. I'm a little mixed on how he's responded to things. On the one hand, I have appreciated his transparency. On the other hand, I don't know. Part of me feels like he did the right thing by doing what he was doing. And I think he represented the organization and himself very well. And then the other part of me is like, I don't know, it could have been handled differently. But if I'm saying, kind of talking out of both sides of my mouth, I'm saying if it could have been handled differently, but then I don't have any suggestions on how it could have been handled differently. But I don't know. I feel a little mixed on it too. I feel you, brother. Yup, Excedre, I just kind of hit on that point. Well, actually, I just hit on that point a lot. I'm not worried about the correction. I'm worried about the regulation. I agree. One of the things, guys, just to level set things. And I think I'm going to hop off shortly here. I want to start dinner. But one of the things you really got to ask yourself is, and I've tried to hit on this before, and that's why, for a while now, if you've been following my content, what you should have recognized was, I got away from is the exact dollar limit in, and the question I started to pose was, guys, let's get off the 17.6 being the exact bottom, right? And I said, maybe it's 16.9 or 16.2, 15.9, whatever the case is, right? So we go 5% lower, 10% lower. Oh. The question you really need to ask yourself is, are the prices at today's level a generational buy opportunity? Are there enough data science models and charts, and even if they go to historical lows, okay, is there enough data sort of backing your view that buying at today's current price levels, okay, the current price levels today, historically over the course of the past, depending what crypto asset you're looking at, it would be, like 14 or 13 years or less, based on that data, is buying at today's levels advantageous for an investor over the long term, right? And the clear answer to that question is yes. And so one of the things you really have to ponder here, and it sounds like I'm whispering. I don't know why I'm whispering right now. But one of the things you really have to ponder is how much of your view today based on the price action is based on your shorter term view of things and your emotion of the price movement itself versus your long-term conviction in terms of where you think things will be, even if the time horizon's incorrect, right? So that's really what you need to discern for yourself. I've always said, if you're in this for a quick buck, you're going to lose, right? But if you're really invested in this space and you're looking to buy in at sensical levels for the long term, Jesus Almighty Christ, like the price levels we're at today are going to be they're going to be so advantageous years out from now, and I think, at some point, if I'm still live streaming, or not live streaming necessarily, but yeah, live streaming, but years down the road, if I still have this channel and this is something I'm still passionate about and want to continue to put out educational content for people, I think this will be one of those videos 4 or 5 years from now. God, I can't think of how old I'll be 4 or 5 years from now. Jesus. Jeez. Might need to have a drink after that thought. But 4 or 5 years from now, it'll be fun to come back to a video like this and reassess where we were at now versus the current times. Or should I say, future self? Are you really disappointed in me how much of an ass I make of myself, future self? I know, future self. Or should I say, future self, this is the way I look now? No, this is the way prices were then, and this is the way prices are now. All right. I have a feeling if I come back to this in 4 or 5 years, I am literally going to be cringing in the fetal position watching myself, because I have a tendency, sometimes in my head things sound funny and then I say them out loud and I'm like, nobody else is laughing. Why am I the only person that finds this funny? I think that's all I have, guys. So just as a reminder, I appreciate you tuning in. So again, main things I would take from today's live stream before everybody drops off, while there is an increased probability that Bitcoin will hit $14,000 or even below, okay? I do not think that's still going to happen because everyone's been calling for it. It would break the Elliott wave structure, okay? Second takeaway from today's live stream, really ask yourself why you're in this space. Are you an investor or day trader? If you're an investor, I've shared way too much information with you not to suggest that whether the price was 17.6 or 5 or 10% lower from that, it is a generational buy opportunity based on factual historical information. Don't lose perspective on that. I know it can be tough with the emotions of the market. Look, we're already starting to bounce now. Bitcoin's back up to 37,000. Everything's okay, folks. Everything's okay. Refresh that ledger balance, folks. Please don't. No. But you got to throw humor, and it's a real serious time right now. But try to find and there's actually a good piece of advice. In all seriousness, guys, how many times have I said that this evening? Especially people who are being materially impacted by FTX, guys. There are some things, unfortunately, you have to accept in life that are outside of your control. Okay, maybe you made a decision to lead you to where you're at today, but certain events are unfolding that are outside your control. Take some time for yourself and your mental health. And I really, not joking about this one bit. We all know someone who has been impacted by mental health in one way, shape, or form, right? So if you are being severely impacted by this, please, 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 please. Like, this is all this stuff, money, financial investments, the crypto space. It is such a speck in space relative to the importance and significance you have in other people's lives, your friends and family. So take some time to just try to laugh and get your mind off this stuff and enjoy time with your family and friends if you find it's impacting your health. And that I'm being dead serious on. So the other thing I wanted to mention is who the hell else is here? It's just me. Anybody else here? No, there's no, I just like, maybe the door will open. There'll just be this beautiful woman just there, and she's like making dinner, and she's like grabbing me a drink. Man, that'd be awesome. But it would be ladies, it would be two-way. I don't just, I don't expect that. I do the same thing. You know what I'm saying? But I got nobody here to do that thing too. But, so what was I saying? Oh, yes, by the way, for those still listening to me, so tomorrow I will be doing a live stream as well. It'll be sort of the typical Bitcoin crypto happy hour. I don't know what creative thumbnail I'll come up with, but probably something about the bounce today, because I can already tell we're unless if things significantly turn around, it looks like we're going to get a sizable bounce here. So I just wish my paycheck would have come in today and not tomorrow, because I would have been buying at today's prices. So, but anyway, I'll have that live stream. We'll sort of kind of catch up on some news events that have unfolded over the past 24 hours, because I'm sure there'll be a lot more developments. And I'll have a little bit more of a Q&A segment. We can hit on some charts we didn't hit on today. We can hit on any charts you guys want. Looks like my video on 100 or 1,000 quant came correct, because this thing, I forget how much it was down today, but we're back at 100 basically. So, if you are not subscribed, make sure to subscribe to the channel. You gotta, for the bell icon, unclick it, but then re-click it. Make sure to re-click it, because there's been some issues there. Make sure you give a thumbs up to the channel. I will see everyone tomorrow. Hang in there. Keep your thoughts positive. Maybe get your mind off the charts for a little bit. Go enjoy time with your family and friends. Or if you're like me and it's just me, myself, and I, go fucking watch a movie by yourself and have some fun. So either way, I'll be back tomorrow. So as always, share this with at least one person. Spread awareness and carry the education forward. I'll see you tomorrow, guys. Take care.